Hey folks, this is the Views Express live right here on the Free America Radio Network. Yes, here we are, another day. It's Wednesday, it's hump day. It's the 16th of July, 2014. And we are here. Yes. There's a lot going on. You can also go to freeamericaradio@usa.com, freeamericaradio@usa.com. You can email me at freeamericaradio@usa. Did I say that already? freeamericaradio.us is the website. freeamericaradio.us website. freeamericaradio@usa.com is the email address. That's what I meant to say. Okay. It's the middle of the week. What can I say? Lots of things going on. Go to Free America Radio on Facebook, if you would please. Thank you. Appreciate that very much. And that's what we'll be talking about, such as Senate passes phone unlocking bill. And if I don't have that on the Free America Radio Facebook page, I will put that on there. And I do not. So, it's just so much going on. There's so many protests going on out there. People protesting still about Hobby Lobby. People are still protesting about, all of that. Let me just bottom line it for you right now, folks. Let me just get right down to the nitty gritty. You're not going to have it your way, period. You're not going to have it your way. So you might as well shut your big damn pie hole and go off somewhere else and enjoy your life. I'm talking specifically to those far left liberal people who want nothing more than to demand that your politicians in Washington, D.C. take everything over and give you everything for free. Oh, remember in 2008 when that woman was saying, I don't have to worry about my mortgage, I don't have to worry about my car payments, whatever, remember her? They found her, and guess what? She said, oh, he lied. Yeah. The black neighborhoods in Chicago are saying he's the worst president ever. So I don't want to hear it anymore. You far-left liberal people better shut your damn pie holes because you have nothing worth saying. And I'm not on the far right either, folks. I'm smack dab in the middle looking at both sides, wondering when the hell someone is going to get some common sense in their head and think about what's going on when we're both red-blooded American people holding true to our beliefs, but ultimately wanting freedom. Hey, far-left liberal, you want freedom? No, you want everything for free. Oh, far-right progressives? You want freedom? No, you want to control everything so that you can dish it out whenever you want to benefit you. So shut up. Yes, this is going to be one of those shows. But I'm going to go to break and I'm going to calm down just a little bit. Okay, I'm going to calm down. Controlled rage. I'll be fine. You don't have to worry about me. I'll be good. I won't bash too many people. freeamericaradio@usa.com is the email address. freeamericaradio.us is the website. And if you have something to tell me, please do. Email me, freeamericaradio@usa.com. And also, even if you disagree with me, that's fine. Go ahead, disagree with me. I'll be back right after this. What is reality? The foundation of reality is based on many concepts. Each person perceives reality differently. In the book, The Grid by Marie D. Jones and Larry Flaxman, they explore the hidden infrastructure of reality. Get your copy today at Barnes & Noble and Amazon.com. The Grid by Marie D. Jones and Larry Flaxman. Listen to Crash Talk with your host, Christopher John Taylor, on HTLA973.com.
Misfit is a misfit.
Samo.
Ignorant of hygiene, destructive, disorderly, and totally disrespectful.
It's the 515 with Samo on Samo Radio.
AM 1700 Daytona Beach, Holly Hill.
And Southnet 1.
All aboard! Train, start up to, take the last train across the see them hoping run.
He's leaving on that midnight train to Georgia.
Leaving on the midnight.
Sarasota's home for R&B and soul. The Razor Blade Express with Dave the Rave.
It's Spencer Hughes from The Spencer Hughes Show on Spreaker.com, and you're listening to The Views Express Live.
Hey folks, this is The Views Express Live, right here on the Free America Radio Network, right here on Spreaker.com and at freeamericaradio.us. And if you can RSS feed the show, it's elsewhere where you are at. You can also go to Spreaker.com, go to the bottom of the page, and you'll see the iPhone, smartphone, Android apps that you so love. So, there you go. Listen to me on the go. Listen to the views expressed on the go on your smartphone. Because the Free America Radio Network shares the truth, one fact at a time. What do we do, folks? What do we do? What do we have? Do we have time to deal with the bullcrap ignorance of people that absolutely do not know what's going on and only parrot what other people say and only go out and get paid to provocateur these protests? So, by the way, if you really want to know the truth and the facts, go look up the Supreme Court decision many, many years ago called a heckler's veto. Go check that one out. Yeah, if I protest for something that I believe is wrong and you come up to protest against me for protesting, the law enforcement has the legal constitutional right to move you away from me because you are interfering with my First Amendment right. Go look it up. It's called a heckler's veto. It's something that a lot of people don't understand, and it's something that I recently became aware of through chrisannhall.com. Go look at that, chrisannhall.com. And it's let me go look. I'm going to, there it is. Let me go take a look here. She's got a lot of stuff on her page, and she has the Bill of Rights. And she says right here in one of her articles, this is at Chrisanne, Krisanne, Hall, of course, Hall, chrisannhall.com. Hobby Lobby, a victory for religious freedom? Is it? Victory for Hobby Lobby, or what does that mean for us? She says, I have read this Supreme Court opinion and it leaves me with a great concern. I intend to study it further, but here was my take at first glance. As my greatest concern remains that this court continues to acknowledge the federal government's authority to mandate health care, which is unconstitutional, by the way, And she says, this is constitutionally not a function of the federal government, and the Supreme Court's refusal to limit the federal government's seizure of power just proves James Madison was right when he said, that's President James Madison, quote, if the decision of the judiciary be raised above the authority of the sovereign parties to the Constitution, dangerous powers not delegated may not only be usurped and executed by other departments, but that the judicial department also may exercise or sanction dangerous powers beyond the grant of the Constitution, unquote. Virginia Assembly Report 1800. Here are the facts that we can take away from this Supreme Court opinion. In the Hobby Lobby opinion, the Supreme Court of the United States recognizes a correlation between birth control and abortion and the financial impact of birth control upon the business. Quote, the owners of the businesses have religious objections. Let me excuse me. Let me repeat that. Quote, the owners of the businesses have religious objections to abortion, and according to their religious beliefs, the 4 contraceptive methods at issue are abortifacient. I don't know how to pronounce that word. Somebody want to send me an audio of how to pronounce that word? Abortifacient. I don't know. And I'm an English major. If the owners comply with the HHS mandate, they believe they will be facilitating abortions, and if they do not comply, they will pay a very heavy price, as much as $1.3 million a day, or about $475 million a year in the case of one of the companies. If these consequences do not amount to a substantial burden, it is hard to see what would, unquote. Supreme Court of the United States sees the potential quote-unquote unlimited application of HHS, that's Health and Human Services, that would be endorsed if the Supreme Court of the United States held against Hobby Lobby. Quote, it is HHS's apparent belief that no insurance coverage mandate would violate RFRA, no matter how significantly it impinges upon the religious liberties of employers, that would lead to the intolerable consequences. Under HHS's view, RFRA would permit the government to require all employers, to provide coverage for any medical procedure allowed by law in the jurisdiction in question. For instance, third trimester abortions or assisted suicide. The owners of many closely held corporations could not be in good conscience. The owners of many closely held corporations could not in good conscience provide such coverage, and thus HHS would effectively exclude these people from full participation in the economic life of the nation. RFRA was enacted to prevent such an outcome, unquote. The Supreme Court says that the exception carved out for not-for-profits can be easily applied to for-profits. Quote, although HHS has made this system available for religious nonprofits that have religious objections to the contraceptive mandate, HHS has provided no reason why the same system cannot be made available when the owners of a for-profit corporation have similar religious objections. We therefore conclude, that's the Supreme Court of the United States, we therefore conclude that this system constitutes an alternative that achieves all of the government's aims while providing greater respect for religious liberty. And under RFRA, that conclusion means that enforcement of HHS contraceptive mandate against the objecting parties in these cases is unlawful, unquote. The Supreme Court of the United States then does a major CYA and makes this decision specific to birth control, which will either create a never-ending trail of litigation or chill the entire system of due process or force the remainder of a business to submit in silence. Quote, in any event, our decision in these cases is concerned solely with the contraceptive mandate. Our decision should not be understood to hold that an insurance coverage mandate must necessarily fail if it conflicts with any employer's religious belief. Other coverage requirements, such as immunization, may be supported by different interests. For example, the need to combat the spread of infectious disease, and may involve different arguments about the least restrictive means of providing them. Victory, that's unquote. Victory, yes, but very limited in its scope. There are greater dangers lurking about in the Affordable Care Act. Hobby Lobby's case is just the beginning. If you want to know how deep this rabbit hole goes, read an article, and it's linked there in the article as well by Chris Ann Hall. It is time for Congress to defund this mess via Article 1, Section 7 and the power of the purse. We cannot let down our guard or our influence. This is just motivation to fight even harder. Supreme Court of the United States is not on your side and no longer focused on the Constitution or liberty. That is abundantly clear. Okay, and there's a link to the Hobby Lobby Supreme Court opinion, so you may want to read it for yourself and get educated on your own side. Now, here's the other thing. And when you look at this situation that's around us at this current point in our history, and you look back at our founding fathers and you examine those things that they put into not only the Declaration of Independence, but also 15 years later in the Constitution of the United States and the amendments that are there, what you have to look at is the difference between then and now. Starting at about 1871, probably sooner, but specifically around then. And then it accelerated in the total takeover and destruction of the United States of America and its sovereignty and the liberty and freedom that we've enjoyed. Now, take a look at what those two things are. Just look at it, just have an overview of what it is. Okay? Just an overview. Okay? And if you want to get into specifics, you can get into specifics and look at everything such as, is abortion the right? Is it under, is this, is any of the laws that are on the books today covered under the Constitution of the United States prior to 1871? Now, my question also is, regarding that, why are we not using the Constitution as the rule of law? How come we're not? How come we misinterpret the Constitution? That's a bigger question. Does anybody know what these things mean? Well, unless you get into the Founding Fathers' head and go back to that very first place where the Constitution was ratified on December 15th, 1791, I don't think you're ever going to know. But we can look back in history, we can look back at the society of that time in America, the culture surrounding that, and we can understand where it was, based from, what ideas they had. Now, of course, we also know about the documents that were found and talked about with the American Indians, who worked among themselves and their allies with somewhat of this agreement that pretty much the things wound up being the ideas, the concepts, from what I understand, wound up to be in the Constitution of our nation. We can look back at every other country that people went to of that time and look how those were structured. What was India like in 1776? What was Europe like as a whole up to that point in 1776? What was China like? Who was the dynasty leader of that time in China? What was the Soviet Union like back then? So we have, and don't tell me we weren't trading. I mean, we were in these areas, but, what was Italy like? What was, all these places like at that time? So we have to look back at the culture of people and really examine society of that time and really get down to understanding why the things were written in the Constitution the way they were. Because when you look back into the 13th century or the 1200s, I believe it was you had the Magna Carta, you had all these other things that came out of the British government, out of English rule, and we tore them all apart here, put them into a Declaration of Independence, and some of them we put into a Constitution. And then we thought, well, people are going to be pissed off about this. There's not a one-size-fits-all that's going to make everybody happy, so let's make 10 amendments and say this. And there you go. So we have to take a look at everything to really understand what was going on and how we can decide for ourselves, basically, how today's government is being run in Washington, D.C. on the 16th of July, 2014. I cannot get over the fact that there are people out there protesting against the people who want peace, liberty, and freedom and security in this nation. I don't understand that. We're all Americans. We're all red-blooded Americans. We're all born and bred right here in America. What kind of environment did you grow up in that you became, so adamant about protesting against the peace, freedom, security, and liberty in this nation against people who want that? I just find that odd. I find that incredibly odd. I find that very naive to even for somebody to think, to protest against somebody that wants all that. What are you, an anarchist? Hey, I believe in an anarchist type of ideology, in that it's not that I don't want government. I don't want corrupt government. But why are the Democrats, the known Marxist, socialist, communist, socialist, Marxist, communist, fascist, why do the Democrats want to take over everything? They want to give away the store. They want everybody on the same playing field. You want this? Don't worry about it. Oh, wait a minute. Hold on. What's that? What? I hear a question. Well, what does that mean about the Republicans? Well, they want to give away the store, but it's more like, they want to ration it out. Unless I'm totally misunderstanding what the Republicans want to do, you can help me out understand that. You can help me understand that by emailing me at freeamericaradio@usa.com. But the fact of the matter is, both parties, I'm going to give you a reality check. Both parties are non-existent. And if you still want to believe in this two-party paradigm, you go right ahead and do that, because it doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. It never has, and it never will. We have one party and one party only. It's whoever is ruling at that point. There are no parties. Because at some point you'll hear a Republican in Congress say, this is what I'm going to do, and I put this bill through, blah, 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 and sounds great. But when it comes down to action, they ain't doing a damn thing. Neither are the Democrats. The Democrats are putting forth all these tyrannical policies and executive orders, and Obama's ruling by edict like a king in a kingdom. And Republicans are going, we're going to stop that. We're telling the people that we're going to stop that right now. We don't like that. 3 weeks later, they're still saying the same thing, and not a damn thing gets done. So I don't want to hear it anymore. There is no left-right. There's nothing like that anymore. It's done, okay? It's done. All right? I find it incredibly odd, again, something else that's incredibly odd to me, that I get people telling me, that that's not how it is. The Democrats aren't that way. Oh, the Republicans aren't that way. Oh, there's progressives on both sides. Okay? In the history of America, there have been anywhere between 5 to 6 presidents that ran on one of the party's platforms, but were self-avowed socialist or Marxist or communist or whatever they were, fascist, I think. Communism sounds really bad, but if you guise it in like fascism or socialism, it's not that bad. Yeah, it is. Fascism, socialism, Marxism, communism, they're all the same. They're all the same. There was no difference between any of it. Nothing. It's just different colors of totalitarianism. That's all that is. There's not one way that's going to there's not just one way that's going to work, because it's going to piss somebody off because they don't have enough. Or it's going to piss somebody off because they have too much. Not that people are complaining that they have too much, but the idea is right now, this minute, the 16th of July, 2014, is to level the playing field for everybody. Everybody gets everything the same. Nobody is excelling. No entrepreneur is making his business better than the guy down the street, and he's not at a point 5, 6, 10 years down the line where he wants to sell his business. It's not going to happen. They're all trying to get everybody at the same level to do the same thing, to not have any exceptionalism and be better than the next guy. Okay? That's just the way it is. That's just the way it is. How is anyone... Well, you went out and tried out for the football team. You went out for training. You went out and did that. You tried out every day. You were there. 2 weeks later, what'd they do? Well, we watched, and there's some other people that are better than you. You're like, all right. So you go and try out for baseball. You're kind of good, but there's other people that are better than you. So you go out and try for track. Right? Point is, somebody's always going to be better than you, and for you to get better than the other person, you have to be educated and knowledgeable enough to be able to do that, and physically fit in those areas to be excelling better than someone else. The Democrats, this current I'm going to stop saying Democrats and Republicans. This current tyrannical, totalitarian regime in Washington, D.C. wants everybody on the same playing field with no one being any better than anybody else. That's the bottom line. That's the bottom line. Anyway, come back. We'll go to Free America Radio on Facebook. I'll give you another article. And, hey, if you have anything that you want to tell me, you go right ahead. Email me, freeamericaradio@usa.com, freeamericaradio@usa.com. Put in the subject line radio so I know you heard the show. Thank you very much. If you want to help out, get Free America Radio Network to the next level, you can do that. Go to freeamericaradio.us. Go down to the bottom of the screen. There's a donate button there. That's freeamericaradio.us. You can email me at freeamericaradio@usa.com. This is Reverend Wayne S. Pierce from the Free America Radio Network. Prepare yourself for the unexpected. Have an emergency food supply available when you need it. You never know when the next power outage or natural disaster will happen. Are you prepared when it does? Go to Free America Radio Network website and click on the Store tab and get your emergency food supply now. Go to freeamericaradio.us. A natural disaster could happen at any time. Be prepared. Go to freeamericaradio.us and click on the Store tab to get your emergency food supply today. That's freeamericaradio.us and click on the Store tab and prepare in case something happens. Listen to the Diana and Wayne's Grab Bag Potpourri Talk Show, Friday nights at 8 p.m. Pacific, 11 p.m. Eastern, right here on Spreaker.com. Photography is an art form, and Adventures in Photography shows you all of the forms of art there is in our world. Spencer Hughes captures the colors and works of natural art in his book, Adventures in Photography. For more information, go to SpencerHughesPhotography.com. Local radio with a worldwide connection. The Free America Radio Network. Go to www.freeamericaradio.us. Hey folks, this is the Free America Radio Network. This is the Views Express Live. We're here Monday through Friday, 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern, unless I have a podcast, and then I put that up. But Monday through Friday, 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern. Go to Spreaker.com and get all your phone apps at the bottom of the page there at Spreaker. That's Spreaker, Spreaker.com. And or you can listen to the show on freeamericaradio.us. So you can email me with questions, comments, concerns, or even if you disagree with me at freeamericaradio@usa.com. So, welcome back. Welcome back. I find it interesting. Yes, I find it interesting that that people argue over the stupidest things. They argue over the stupidest things. You know, I put a post up. I can't remember where it was, but it's you know, it happens now and then. But I see this on posts on YouTube, on replies and stuff like that. But I put a post up and I get replies on the post, and then I go back, you know, because I get notifications. There's other replies, and I'm seeing people argue about stupid stuff, not even related to the post I put up. I find that kind of interesting. And I have to ask, are they really paying attention? Because, you know, if they're not, they can get the hell off my page. Which brings me to this. And I'm going to be serious here for a minute, not like I am before, but I mean, I'm going to be really, well, I don't like pictures of animals being hurt. I don't like it. Specifically dogs and cats, you know, stuff like that. I don't like it. And even if I see a video of a deer getting shot and killed for food, it still bothers me. Okay? Somebody once asked me, well, geez, do you eat hamburger? Do you eat steak? Yeah. Well, do you know where that comes from? It's like, yeah. But still. I had someone post they were on my friends list. They posted a picture of a animal that was hurt. And I see them every now and then, not as much as I used to. But I see them every now and then, and people post them and stuff like that. But this one particular picture really disturbed me. Got me emotional. It disturbed me to no end. So I posted a reply to the picture. I said, I understand that that people want others to be aware of what's going on. I appreciate that. I think that's a really good thing. And I, when I, see things like this, I'm disturbed. And this picture really disturbed me. And I said something to that effect. And then I said, when I do post about, the support to, organizations for the protection of animals, dogs and cats, I usually put the link up for the ASPCA, and that's all I said, basically. Basically, that's all I said. Under this picture that this person put up of a very injured animal, very injured dog. And this person had the gall to come back on the post and reply, I'm going to put up whatever I want to put up, and no one's going to tell me what I need to write or anything. And I just went, well, little attitude there didn't help. So I went over, I clicked on their name on the post, I went down on the menu and clicked unfriend. Not unlike, not hide, unfriend. You're going to have an attitude with me when I'm being very nice and polite. You don't deserve to be on my friends list. I said all that because it's important to know that there's a lot of things on there that people post. Now, I'm going to say this. There's a lot of things that people post. And I understand that we don't have to see them and just keep on scrolling. Who cares, right? There's that attitude out there as well. And B, I can just simply hide it. I understand that. I completely understand that. But here's the thing. Why would you want to put up something that disturbed other people? And if you're going to help people become aware of what's going on, why not just write a little paragraph or something with a link instead of putting up a picture? Okay? And this leads me into this. I've noticed a lot of people replying or posting that Facebook is censoring their posts. And that's been verified many, many times by certain things that I've done. I have never been censored as of yet because I've never had anyone tell me, hey, you said you put up a post, but I don't see it, so I don't have that. And as far as I know, I haven't been censored. So if people and patriots, could put up pictures of and posts about veterans and how the government is screwing them and blah, 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 and those get deleted by Facebook and censored by Facebook, but, you put up a Muslim jihadist that cut off, heads of 5, rebels, and that picture is up there and it's horrifying, but Facebook doesn't censor that or take that down or cancel that account, then there's a double standard. And this dovetails into the Bill of Rights, the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. We have a right to say what we want. Not like we can go into a movie theater and yell fire and then run out. No. But we have a right that is protected. And we can say what we want, criticize what we want, whatever. I mean, we know this, right? So the internet censorship is now beginning again, and it's going to be really, really difficult to do anything on the internet if we allow this government to run roughshod over our protected rights. Okay? And that also leads me to say this, that if anybody is protesting against my protest for liberty, freedom, security, and peace in this country, if anybody is protesting against that, that shows your true character, doesn't it? Oh, sure, you have the freedom of speech to do that. You have the freedom to post whatever you want on Facebook, because Facebook will decide whether or not they want to censor that. You can say whatever you want. And yeah, I have the right not to listen to it or not to see it, right? I understand that. My point is, we're all on the same page. We want peace, freedom, and security and liberty in this nation. And we want people to, not we, I shouldn't say we, but there are people out there who want you to agree with them. And guess what? If you don't agree with them, they're going to call you racist, prejudiced, whatever. They're going to lodge all sorts of stuff at you and tell you that you're everything but an American. And the attitude has to change. The attitude has to change. The attitude has to change. That's just the way it is. This decision by Hobby Lobby does not affect a woman's right to choose. This decision by the Supreme Court of the United States of America in favor of Hobby Lobby says that business whose owners are Christian, who have a belief that part of their contraceptive, part of their coverage for contraceptives are wrong, we're not going to cover that. The Supreme Court said, okay, you don't have to. Has nothing to do with women's rights, has nothing to do with religious rights, in terms of the whole picture. It was only one section saying, our health, the company that we go through, we don't want this covered because we don't believe in this. We don't believe in abortion. We don't want it covered. We don't believe that birth control is, blah, blah, blah. Plus, when you look at it, they cover 16 other birth control things. So the freedoms that these women have, that these guys have, is theirs. Because they don't agree with, the women don't agree with the decision of the Supreme Court, and the Senate just shot down a bill to overturn that decision. Just shot it down. They said, no, we're not going to overturn that decision. But here's my point. It didn't get rid of the woman's right to choose. Because if you don't agree with it, you choose either to continue to work there and to go out and buy your own coverage, or to quit that job and to go get another job that covers it. That's the bottom line. It's your choice. Not everyone's going to agree with everyone. And if you want to continue to keep playing the field in terms of trying to get this decision by the United States Supreme Court overturned, well, you're battling up a hill with a giant rock coming at you. It's not going to happen. You're never, ever, ever going to get this changed. What, are you in the Sandra Fluke camp on that one? So all you women out there, I love you. Some brilliant people, but you just have no clue. You still have a right to choose to either work there and to go out and get your own coverage, or to quit that job and to go out and get a job that covers you in that area. So your protesting is completely in vain and therefore will serve no one. And it's pointless. So, with all that said, when you look at the First Amendment, when you decide to use that protected right, whatever it may be, the right to assemble, the right of free speech, right of expression, whatever, you should at least on a basic level understand, like I was saying before the break, I talked about it at the beginning of the show, the heckler's veto. Go look that up. That's a Supreme Court case and decision that if you go out and protest and someone is protesting against you if I go out and protest for freedom, peace, liberty, and security in this nation, but somebody else is protesting against that, the law enforcement in that area under Supreme Court decision says those people that are protesting against me have to go away, and law enforcement in that area have the constitutional power to tell those people to go away. That's a Supreme Court decision. It's called a heckler's veto. Go look it up. Go chrisannhall.com. Yeah. KRISANNE Hall. chrisannhall.com. You can look it up anywhere, but she's a constitutional attorney. So all of that was said to get to this final summation, if you will. We go out and protest. We go out and protest against, what's happening at the border. We go protest abortion clinics. We go to protest La Raza. We go protest anybody else that is trying to bring down this country. And guess what? We have a constitutional protected right to do so. Now, people always ask me, and I've been emailed about this as well. It's like, well, you say all this stuff, but we don't hear any solutions. Here's a solution for you, or a possible solution. You can decide how you use this, so it's a possible solution. You can protest all you want, but when the people for peace, freedom, security, and liberty in this nation kick your ass in the protests, in other words, intellectually, and prove your side to be totally ignorant of all the issues, you can go away anytime now. Or B, another possible solution, is if you protest against those patriots and people in this country that want peace, freedom, and security and liberty in this country, you've only got one option. And I know you don't want to be arrested. So you've only got one option as far as I am concerned from my perspective, and that is pack your bags and get the hell out of the country, because you're not a United States citizen if that's the case. You once you protest against freedom, liberty, security, and all that in this country, once you protest against the Constitution, the flag, freedom, liberty, peace, security, you've pretty much intellectually given up your citizenship. So why don't you just take the next step and leave? I'm sure Russia and China would love your citizenship. By the way, did you know that there's Americans living in Russia and China and Germany and places like, did you know that? American civilians who live over there because they married those women. a woman from that country. Did you know that there are over, at last statistics I saw, was there's over 2.5 million Americans living in Mexico because they married Mexican women, Hispanic women. So if you don't like America, leave. And I've heard a lot of people tell me, I've heard this. I have a right to say what I have to say. I disagree with you and I have a right to disagree with you. Really? You start bashing America. You start bashing my rights as an American citizen to protest for the freedoms of this country. Protest against this tyranny that is currently in Washington, D.C., and protest against this influx of illegal aliens coming over the border. You're gonna intellectually fight me on this? I don't see any other choice except to help you pack your bags and leave. 1989, when just shortly before the wall came down in East-West Germany, there was a news story about a family in America, and this came out of Sacramento, California, a news story about a family elsewhere in the U.S., but it was reported on one of the stations there, and this family decided not to be in America anymore because they saw the writing on the wall. They saw a bunch of stuff happening and all this, that, and the other thing, and the outcome was they packed their bags and moved to Russia. So why can't people who don't like America, people who don't like protesting, protesters, let's put it that way, people who don't like protesters, that kind of thing, why don't you just pack your bags and leave? Why don't you take La Raza? Why don't you take all those advocates that want open borders and help them pack up and move? If you like Mexico so much, if you like Guatemala so much, if you like Honduras so much, if you like San Salvador so much, or El Salvador, whatever the hell it is, why don't you just pack up your ass and move over there? It's about the children. Have you seen who's been crossing the border? These people are, the quote-unquote children, are in their mid to late 20s. I don't want to hear it anymore. They're MS-13 gang members. They're drug dealers. They're criminals. We need to pack their asses up and send them back. But you see, this totalitarian government and this system that we currently live under don't want you to do that. Like I said before, they want everybody on the same level on the playing field. They don't want people to be exceptional. They don't want peace, freedom, and security and liberty in this nation. They want to tear it down, tear it up, destroy it, and collapse this system that we have, or what's left of it. That's just the way it is. Hey, Bronco Drew. I haven't seen him in this chat room over on Spreaker side of things in a while. What's happening there, Drew? He says, sad thing is, there are people who hate America and they now work at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. Yes, they do. And the inner, quote-unquote, cabinet of Obama's office is Muslim Brotherhood members. Yeah, go look it up. Yeah. Or at least one of them. I'm not going to say all of them. At least one that we know of. Now, top of the hour break coming up. I know I get long-winded. Thoughts keep coming in my head. Things I almost forget, so I got to say them. But I want to put it to you this way. The average person understands what is happening in our nation. They have a choice. One, they can either go to the overpasses with signs with other people or downtown with other people and protest what's going on and hold signs, that's called civil disobedience and non-aggressive, non-assertive, non-violent, peaceful protesting. Or they can just sit there and Twitter and Facebook and whatever and just go from there. In other words, you can be proactive or inactive. Either way. Now, the average person in America literally understands what this government is doing to them. But I don't think there's a majority of them that have the balls to stand up to go do what they have to do. Although, hey, I could be wrong. I think from the statistics that I've seen so far, anywhere up to, I think it's up to like 80% now. 80% of the law enforcement and military have said they're not going to do anything against the American people. That if they had their ways, if they were able to do this, they would go down to the southern border and close it off themselves. July 18th, coming up in a couple of days, there's going to be a run down through that whole area from California, Arizona, New Mexico, Texas, and people are going to, there's going to be truckers down there. There's going to be citizens militia down there in Texas. The Texas Rangers, I heard, are going down to the border to secure it because the federal government's not going to do it because the federal government wants it open. But they're going to have a challenge, and that challenge is the United Nations. They've weighed in on this. They said that they're going to go down to the border and help those illegals come on over the border. Can you say civil war? Actually, no. Can you just say a war? Because that's what it's going to be. It's not going to be civil. I can tell you that much. Question is, who has the balls to go down there? I call upon everybody right now. I call upon everybody in California, in Southern California, Marietta, whatever, down in that area, San Diego, whole nine yards. I call everybody in Arizona, down in southern Arizona, and Oracle and all those areas. I call everybody in New Mexico and Texas. Get your asses down to the border now. Be peaceful. Do not be aggressive, but be peaceful. And make sure that those people, those buses, never make it over the border. Now, if the other side wants to point a gun at you, make sure your aim is straight. I'm not kidding you. It's going to get that bad. Bronco Drew says, here's a happy mind blower with all the people upset with the current administration, Tea Party, libertarians, truckers, bikers. Could this have a long-term conservative social impact the way the 60s hippie movement had, or modern progressivism? Modern progressivism. That's a two-sided coin if I ever saw it. It's called the Republicans and Democrats. They're all progressives, or most of them, about 75% of them anyway. I would say it will have an impact. To what degree, I don't know. But it will have a social and economic impact. But I think the hippies of the 1960s became the Green Party and Tea Party members of the 2000s. I could be wrong. I could be wrong. I don't know. But yeah, hey folks, you can email me at freeamericaradio@usa.com. That's freeamericaradio@usa.com. Put radio in the subject line so I know you heard the show. Go to freeamericaradio.us for more information, and if you want to sponsor the show, please do. That'd be cool. Email me, freeamericaradio@usa.com, if you have any questions. I shall return right after this. Stick tight right there.
Late Night in the Midlands is an alternative media that covers the truth, theory, and fact that the mainstream media won't talk about. We cover everything from the known and the unknown, the normal and the paranormal, the government lies and the government ties, and even their thrive. We tell what's coming, what's going, whether it be politics or archaeologists. We have an amazing fan base, and our shows are all archived to be heard millions of times more. So tell your friends, your family, and anybody you care about LateNightInTheMidlands.com. Become a member and be informed.
Get your morning started with the Morning Brew on 92.6 The Blitz. Music from the 60s, 70s, and more. The Blitz 92.6. Go to radiorocktheblitz.blogspot.com.
Free Talk Live.
You give someone an ounce of liberty and they'll go around abusing it and harming everyone else with it.
If we legalize guns...
People will be shooting people everywhere.
Right.
If you legalize prostitution, people will be having sex on the street corners. If you legalize drugs, we'll have heroin vending machines in the streets. We've heard it all on Free Talk Live. They take it to the most absurd, illogical extremes, and you're absolutely right, Alexander. It's okay for them to have freedom.
Yeah, you can give them a gun. They won't go around shooting people. But watch out with their neighbor, because you give them a gun, they'll go around in a rampage around the city, killing everyone.
But yes, they can be trusted, and apparently the government can be trusted too, because magically, we only elect the best of the best, the cream of the crop. The bureaucrats that are administering these programs are the upper echelon of society, the most trustworthy individuals.
Oh, yeah. Sometimes when I squint, I swear I can see a halo above their heads.
Free Talk Live, 7 nights a week from 7 to 10 Eastern, live on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
Are you tired of the mainstream media? The media that is so biased, you wouldn't even let your dog listen to it? Well, there's an answer. Angel Clark.
On RadioFreedom.us.
Just listen to her fans.
One hell of a writer. I've read a considerable amount of her articles and quite impressed.
Until Angel, my life was void of meaning.
I want to thank you for saving my goldfish from drowning.
I love Angel Clark's honesty and her down-to-earth concern about the people.
She is very dedicated.
Angel, we need you.
This Angel's a sexy woman. I think she's going to go places, but I don't know where.
Ladies and gentlemen, she does a good job.
If it wasn't for Angel,
you saved his life, and I will be indebted to you forever. SussexCountyAngel.com.
Be a part of Angel's Army.
Monday through Friday, 7 to 9 p.m. on RadioFreedom.us.
Free Talk Live.
Do you guys have a zombie plan? I'm just wondering what this country's going to do if we had some sort of apocalypse like that.
Like a zombie attack.
Do?
People coming out of the ground, like in Thriller, like in Michael Jackson's
like 28
Thriller.
days later, like a virus or something.
Oh, okay.
I mean, people don't come back to life.
Well, no, there are different kinds of zombies out there.
Now,
but let me go through the types of zombies. I mean, you've got the ones that can crawl out of the ground, right? And then she was talking about like an infection kind of zombie, like a la Resident Evil, for instance. So ideally, if you're going to have to perish at the hands of a zombie, which would be the preference? Would you prefer to have your brains eaten, or would you prefer to become one of them?
I think I'd rather just die. The last thing I'd want is, of course, the people you split up with. Then I'm talking my wife and my child. I'm coming back. I'm wanting to eat Laura's brains. It's bad. It's bad.
Free Talk Live, 7 nights a week from 7 to 10 Eastern, live on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
What does freedom mean? Tune in to LRN.FM to find out. LRN.FM is the Liberty Radio Network, a collection of live talk radio and podcasts, all coming from a principled pro-liberty perspective. LRN.FM show hosts aren't left, right, or conspiracy kooks. You can tune in 24/7 to LRN.FM via your phone, computer, satellite, and more. Listen free anytime at LRN.FM. That's LRN.FM.
Photography is an art form, and Adventures in Photography shows you all of the forms of art there is in our world. Spencer Hughes captures the colors and works of natural art in his book, Adventures in Photography. For more information, go to SpencerHughesPhotography.com. Sharing the truth, one fact at a time. Defending liberty and freedom. Fighting the New World Order. This is the Free America Radio Network. Local radio with a worldwide connection. The Free America Radio Network. Go to www.freeamericaradio.us. Hey, folks, this is the Views Express Live right here for the 16th of July, 2014, right here on the Free America Radio Network, freeamericaradio.us. Oh, what a day. What is in the news, folks? Hey, Senate passes phone unlocking bill. Yeah, that's over at theverge.com if you want to check that out. The Senate has passed a bill legalizing phone unlocking following a favorable House vote on a companion bill this spring. The Unlocking Consumer Choice and Wireless Competition Act, brought by Senator Patrick Leahy, a Democrat of Vermont, reinstates a rule allowing consumers to unlock their cell phones for use on a different network, whether on their own or using a professional unlocking service. The passage comes over a year after President Obama came out in support of the policy, and about 6 months after the phone companies agreed to adopt clear unlocking practices in the absence of a law. When purchased, most phones are are usable only on a specific network, though carriers can choose to remove this restriction after the buyer's contract is up. Consumers who want to unlock their phones operate on shaky legal ground. Anti-DRM cracking sections of the Digital Millennium Copyright Act make it potentially illegal to modify a phone's firmware to work on another network. The Library of Congress codifies exceptions to these rules every 3 years, and it decided to remove the phone unlocking exemption in late 2012. After Obama's statement, a number of bills were introduced to address the issue. The phone company's agreement in late 2013, brokered by the FCC, made it easier for customers to get a phone unlocked. But supporters of the unlocking bill have said that consumers shouldn't need carrier approval to modify a phone that they own, and that people who receive phones secondhand or otherwise operate outside the normal 2-year contract process could fall through the cracks. Leahy's bill doesn't permanently legalize phone unlocking, but it requires the Library of Congress to put an exemption back in place and consider whether to extend it when it comes up for renewal again. It also modifies the rule slightly. In addition to letting consumers unlock a phone themselves, they can direct a third party, like a company or a technician, to do it. Consumer group Public Knowledge praised the change, saying that unlocking is, quote, something many cannot do without technical assistance, unquote. The bill is very similar to the House version passed in February, but one provision has been removed, a ban on unlocking phones, quote, for the purpose of bulk resale, unquote. The rule is meant to protect companies like TracFone, which sell heavily subsidized prepaid phones, but it was decried by groups that believe the DMCA shouldn't govern phone unlocking at all. Public knowledge said, quote, further confused the issues of copyright and law business models, unquote. Leahy says he is coordinating with House Bill author Bob Goodlatte, I don't know, Republican of Virginia, to ensure that the Senate's version can be approved quickly and signed into law by the president. I look at it this way, folks. If you buy a phone, have you noticed the full prices of those phones? It's your phone. Why? I mean, when you go to Best Buy or Radio Shack or something, the full price for the full price for those phones, are on the phone itself. Okay? It's on the phone, the tag, the price tag. We'll look at it. Well, with the 2-year contract, it's this. But if you just want to buy the phone outright, you don't have to use their service. Folks, you don't. Okay? You don't have to use their service. You can buy the phone outright and use somebody else's service. And pardon me, I just got a text, so that's weird. Okay? Just freaking weird. Anyway, so I don't even know why they're debating this or why this is even up for anything. Just makes no sense. I know people that have been hacking into those phones since they came out. So it doesn't really matter. So I don't know. It's not a big deal to me. That's just another distraction. From Free America Radio on Facebook, you'll see the link from newamerican.com, thenewamerican.com. Our new Freedom Index rating Congress based on the Constitution. Well, how about a big fat 0? Big fat F. Okay? Do you know how your U.S. representatives and senators vote on key issues? Do you know if their actual voting records conform to their rhetoric or to the U.S. Constitution? New American's Freedom Index, published 4 times every 2-year congressional term, rates congressmen based on their adherence to the constitutional principles of limited government, fiscal responsibility, national sovereignty, and a traditional foreign policy of avoiding foreign entanglements. Each index shows how every member of the House and Senate vote on 10 key issues. On our third Freedom Index for the current Congress, appearing in the July 28th print edition of TNA, includes such important issues as the bloated federal budget, the temporary suspension of federal debt limit, farm and food programs, U.S. aid to Ukraine, indefinite military detention, House only, EPA regulations, House only, Janet Yellen's nomination to the Supreme Court, Senate, and the minimum wage, Senate. Please check out this index to see how your representatives and senators voted. There is a PDF. It says click here for the PDF. Question. I have a question concerning this. You can go to Free America Radio and read the rest, by the way, and click on that link for the PDF. If you found, let me pose this question in this way. Say your representative came on TV or in a newspaper and said, in 2 years, I am going to vote on this bill that is currently going through the House in this fashion, because that's when we've got to, negotiate and hammer out all the details, but it will come up for final vote on this day 2 years from now. And he explained why and what's in the bill, and you said, well, okay, the bill sounds fine. You guys are doing, And in 2 years, your representative didn't vote on it or voted it down. But he knew it was a good bill. He knew that it was going to benefit the people, but he voted it down anyway. Okay. What would you do? What would you do? I mean, that's a good question. Now, I'm going to put this, you can click on the article and read it, but I'm going to put this PDF form right underneath in the comment section where it says our new Freedom Index on Free America Radio Facebook page. I'm going to put the PDF, the link to the PDF, in the comment section. And it says the Freedom Index, a congressional scorecard based on the U.S. Constitution. Our third look at the 113th Congress shows how every member of the House and Senate voted on key issues, such as the debt limit, farm and food programs, indefinite detention, House, and the minimum wage, Senate. So there's 21 going down to, there is 21 going to 26. That's in the first part, but then it breaks it all down into states. Okay? So let me go here and tell you specifically what is happening in Nevada. Okay? Now the 21 through 26 and or 21 through 25 and 26 through 30, those are the subjects that they are looking at. Budget agreement, omnibus appropriations, abortion funding, debt limit suspension, farm and food programs, EPA regular. Look, this is what this is. 27 is enforcing existing laws. 29 is indefinite detention, going back one, the Ukraine aid, and 30 is use of military force. So let me go here to my state of Nevada. Titus, who is a Democrat, voted 30% on, and he gave, pretty much a plus. A plus was given to him on 24, which is farm and food programs. So you can look at your own state and see where your representative stands on these issues. There's a minus, there's a plus, there's a question mark. It's it's really interesting when you break it down that much and you start to look at it and you realize these people are just towing the party line. When you examine like indefinite detention, that's you can be picked up in, as I like to say, Guantanamo, and it's perfectly okay. And your senators and representatives are going, no, whatever, Point is that you're going to get a good view as to what your representatives are actually doing for you in this country, constitutionally. And as far as I'm concerned, they need to get rid of all 535 of them and get regular people in there like you and I, truck drivers, people like that, firemen, teachers, they need to do that because we don't need attorneys in Washington, D.C. The only attorneys we need in Washington, D.C. is one, the Attorney General. That's it, period, end of sentence, done. He's the one that oversees all. He talks to the governors and he talks to their, the lawyers in the states. That's what he does. He doesn't make law. He doesn't change law. He doesn't go to the president and suck up to him and get whatever he wants. Okay? And we also need to replace all 9 Supreme Court justices. Even though they've done some good things, they've kind of, slid through certain things that we didn't like. But we need to get rid of them. As a matter of fact, I'll even go this far. We need term limits. 6 years, period. Done. You got voted into office, you got 6 years to make the changes. If you can't make the changes, sorry. 6 years is up, you're out of here. And let's put a stipulation on that. If you can't get done in 90 days what needs to be done initially when you get there, you're fired. We demand that you go home after your 90 days or 100 days. Just leave. Bye. Pack your office in and go home. And if you don't, we'll make you go home. I mean, that's just, it's just the way it is. Now, how are you going to do that? Don't know. I don't have specifics. I just know that if you go to work for a company, you got 60 or 90 days probation period. And if you don't do your job to the level at which that company is accustomed to and to where your boss wants you to, you're gone. Should be the same thing for everybody in Washington, D.C., in Congress. Now, a lot of people say, well, that's not going to give them much incentive to work, 6 years and stuff. Well, nothing starts. When people go in there, as you notice, right, when people go into Congress, it takes them about a year to get acclimated to what's going on around there and to find out what's happening, and then they start rolling on some of these projects. Okay? Plus, they have to pay back their lobbyists and special interest groups. We need to get rid of them, too. So, I mean, there's that to look at. And these are only possible solutions. I don't have anything specific. Those are possible. Would they work practically? On a practical level? Maybe, maybe not. But I know that we have to get rid of these morons up in Washington, D.C. 3 of them have to go right now. Nancy Pelosi, Dianne Feinstein, and Harry Reid. They need to be packed up and shipped to the nut farm. Well, Dianne Feinstein, she can just quit anytime she wants. Her husband's a freaking millionaire off of the, government contracts that she finagled, So, I mean, do whatever you want, but I can tell you this, one size does not fit all. So whatever idea that you have for a possible solution, better incorporate the peace, freedom, security, and liberty in this nation with the people's needs, because I guarantee you, we'll toss your ass out of office real damn quick. Okay? So that's just the way it is. Free America Radio on Facebook. Check that out. From Infowars.com. U.S. military blocks Infowars.com. There's a photo that shows that. The U.S. military blocked Infowars.com with active duty personnel contacting us to confirm that the website is inaccessible to over 700,000 service members worldwide, having been labeled, quote-unquote, violence, hate, and racism. A service member forwarded the above printout, which shows the Navy Marine Corps intranet, NMCI, which serves more than 707,000 sailors, Marines, and civilians in 620 locations in the continental United States, Hawaii, and Japan, making it the largest internal computer network in the world, unquote, is censoring Infowars.com in order to, quote, safeguard the security posture and or to maintain the operational integrity of the NMCI, unquote. The message is entitled Access Denied by Netware Com Policy, with the block being approved by the Naval Network Warfare Command Battle Watch Captain. To emphasize, the block is not being imposed by an external web filtering software program used by the Navy, but by the Navy's own private intranet system. The NMCI is so vast that it is second only to the public internet in size, comprising of 4,100 servers that handle over 2.3 petabytes of data. We also received the following email from a separate active duty member of the U.S. military confirming the block. And, of course, there's that email, an excerpt from that email. Yesterday, InfoWars. Yesterday, we reported on how the Blue Coat corporate web filtering service, which is used by many large companies, had blocked Infowars.com by placing it in the same category under the banner of violence, hate, and racism. The ban was lifted following complaints. It goes without saying that Infowars.com is an independent news website and has nothing whatsoever to do with advocating violence, hate, or racism, unless, of course, you define hate as being adversarial to government corruption and abuse. It wouldn't be a stretch to suggest that Infowars' aggressive recent coverage of the VA scandal may have been a primary reason for the upper echelon of the U.S. military imposing the ban. InfoWars routinely receives emails from users who are unable to access the website because it has been blocked by filters used by government facilities, transport hubs, large corporations, or other institutions. Interesting. By the way, some companies, including some hospitals, have blocked Facebook. Technically speaking, legally, they cannot do that under constitutional law. But due to the fact that they're going to weigh in with their side of the argument, saying we're a private business, we can do whatever we want, well, that doesn't fly with me there, Junior. When you, if you have kids, or if you'll know what you'll understand what I'm about to say. If you have kids and they go to school and they're, wearing a T-shirt with a flag, this happened in San Francisco and other places around the U.S., and the school tells them to take it off or change it or turn it inside out because it may offend someone else. You tell your child, you tell the school, I have a constitutional right called the First Amendment to wear this shirt. I'm expressing my freedoms. I'm expressing my freedom of speech. And if that student, if your child gets suspended from that school, I'm sure you know what to do after that. And also, when you go to work for someone and they say that, you this and this, and you start talking about, freedoms and all this, but they tell you to, we don't want to hear that here because, whatever their reason is for you to tell you not to talk about it. You tell them I didn't suspend my constitutional rights when I clocked in. And if they don't say anything, well, they don't say anything. But guaranteed you're going to get a warning next time. They're going to call you in the office before you leave. They're going to do all that. They're going to try to get you to slip up, or in some cases, in the unconstitutional right to work states, they're going to just fire you on the spot for, whatever. I got fired from a company who said I was inefficient work, inefficient, or I can't remember the exact term they used. I think it was, but it was something to that effect. I didn't meet their quotas. I didn't, whatever. And it was like I was on top of all that when I was working there. I was just on top. Yes, they need this, and this is what you do, and this, and so they lied basically to the, because I got unemployment after that for a little bit, and they lied to the office. And so unemployment called me, the Employment Development Department, people that handle the unemployment checks, and they asked me, they said, well, what about this? What about, well, let me, and I asked, I called, or no, I didn't call. Someone at my job said, this is why, this is going on. I worked at Circus Reno. The hotel owns, and operates, I should say, the Midway, the Circus Midway that is there with all the circus acts and stuff. And the hotel was laying off a whole bunch of people at this time. Well, a lot of people on the Midway got laid off. I wasn't the only one. Okay? But I told the unemployment office about that. And she goes, well, inefficient job performance is what it was. And I said, no, that's not the case. The hotel was laying off all these people, and the hotel runs the Midway. And so that's basically what happened. And she goes, let me call you back. Let me find out what's going on, and let me call you back. She did. About an hour later, the woman at the unemployment office, she goes, you're right. You're right. They did lie to you, and yes, you're right. You get your unemployment. I went, okay. So it's good to do your homework. It's good to ask questions. It's good to find out exactly certain things that you need to know. Okay? They're going to lie to you every step of the way. A right-to-work state is nothing more than the policies and ideologies of democratic socialists that want to destroy unions. That's all it is. Go look it up. Don't believe me? Go look it up. My brother is a part of a union with Union Pacific Railroad. My dad was driving truck for many years. He was part of a union, but that was in California. And when you go to right-to-work states, it's not about, well, you can join a union if you're or not. It's up to you. No, it's not that. Go back in history. Here's my whole point of this. Go back in history, and then I'll take a break. Go back in history and look at why, number one, why people wanted to unify. This is going back to the 1800s, by the way. Okay? Look at it, and look how strong they became in the 1900s, in the 20th century. Look at that whole issue. And then number two, look at what happened after about 1945 or 1945, 1946, 47, around in there. Look what happened after World War II. It's just amazing how corrupt they became and how much they had to offer the politicians who they were funding. And so one of the presidents of the United States decided, that was one of the presidents, William Taft. President William Taft decided, well, let's take a look at this. Go look at the Taft-Hartley Act. Go look at the right-to-work state definition. Go look at everything. I'll go to break. I'll come back. And we'll, I'll discuss that a little bit. And it's amazing when you know what? I'll tell you what. Let's do that now. I'll skip this bottom of the hour break. I'll go here in a few, but I want people to understand what this whole system of right to work is. Now that I'm on that subject. But this has a lot to do with, and I'm going to dovetail it here, I'm going to connect this here to the influx of illegal immigrants, illegal aliens, the criminals that are coming over the border. I'm going to dovetail this. It says right here, a right to work law is a statute in the United States, now get this, that prohibits union security agreements or agreements between labor unions and employers that govern the extent to which an established union can require employees' membership, payment of union dues, or fees as a condition of employment either before or after hiring. Here's the biggie, folks. Right to work laws, get this, do not aim to provide general guarantee of employment to people seeking work, but rather are a government regulation of the contractual agreements between employers and labor unions that prevents them from excluding non-members, or requiring employees to pay a fee to unions that have negotiated the labor contract of all employees that all of the employees work under. Right to work provisions, either by law or by constitutional provision, exist in 24 U.S. states, mostly in the southern and western United States, but also include, as of 2012, the Midwestern states of Michigan and Indiana. Business interests represented by the Chamber of Commerce have lobbied extensively to pass right-to-work legislation. Such laws are allowed under the 1947 Federal Taft-Hartley Act. A further distinction is often made within the law between those employed by state and municipal governments and those employed by the private sector, with states that are otherwise union shop, pay union dues or lose your job, having right-to-work laws in effect for government employees. Now, how does that work when you are forced into indentured servitude? And besides, that is a misnomer. Right to work? No. No. Because when you look at the ramifications of all of that, when you look at the outcome of what happens when you have a group of people, let's just say 1,000, because some, moderate-sized businesses have at least 1,000 people working for them. If you're looking at 1,000 people and only 250 of them want to join a union and do join a union, that leaves 750 people with no, there's no way that they're protected. They have no bargaining chip on their side. They have nothing to bargain with. Right? Or am I wrong? A right-to-work state says in that case, these people don't have to, but other people are paying for those people to work there? And even if they don't pay, they're going to get fired? Really? It's called socialism, folks. It's called everybody has to be on the same playing field. And in this case, the right-to-work state policies tell the unions, yeah, we'll give you some concessions, but you can't have it all. And that goes along with the at-will employment policies. Those are unconstitutional and against our civil rights. Why? You figure it out. A right-to-work state with at-will employment policies? You've just violated all sorts of national labor relations laws right there. Well, which ones? Well, go look them up. And remember this. Indentured servitude. The name that they use, right to work, is not a right to work. If I had a right to work, let's put it this way. If a group of people had a right to work, they'd be working, wouldn't they? But with the right to work policies, as far as I can tell so far, they're limited as to that function of being able to work because of the unions. I'm not saying all unions are bad. I'm saying that the right to work state policies crush any type of unionization of any employee that you have in any business of that state. That's bottom line. Because without the members of a union, you don't have a strong union. Am I correct? But because in the last 50 to 60, 65, I think, years, unions have become so corrupt and so watered down that there's no power in them anyway. And because the corporates run Washington, D.C., what's the point of even having a union? You know what I mean? I mean, there's all sorts of things that you got to take a look at. All sorts of things. But you got to find something that's going to work and be beneficial for the group, for you, for family, for your state, for your county, you got to find that. And once you find that, you got to stand on it and say, no, we're not going to have illegals in our backyard. We're not going to have illegals coming over the border without checking them for diseases or checking whether or not they're criminals. We're not going to have this. And if you notice, a lot of states are going, not here. They're telling the feds, no, you're not dumping them off in our area. And we need to start doing that in every single state. And we need to send a message back to Mexico, Honduras, Guatemala, and San Salvador and tell them, you keep your people over there. Well, they're trying to get away from a very corrupt system and it's falling apart, blah, blah, blah. Stop whining, you little pansy-ass bitch. Just pack your crap and go home. You don't belong here. We have laws. Either follow them or go home. And for those that want amnesty for all of them, you can pack up and go with them. If you like those areas so much. Yeah, I said what I said. I'm not going to hold back. In December of last year, or shortly thereafter, I said I wasn't going to hold back. And I'm not going to hold back. You're stupid. I'm going to call you out on it. Oh, I hope you call me out on stuff too. If I'm wrong, go ahead. Hey, call me out on it. No big deal. I just get to the point where it's, at times I feel like it's an uphill battle. But you know what? The more that I push forward, the more that I know what is ahead of me, the better off I feel knowing that I'm getting somewhere. Seriously. I don't, how can I put this? I think I've pissed off enough people, but I'm going to say this. Not a whole lot of people agree with me, and you know what? That's fine. You know why? Because I don't agree with you either. I want peace, freedom, and security in this nation and liberty for all people. And if that means closing the damn border and taking care of what we got and rebuilding it and restoring America to the greatest nation that we were many years ago and really reestablishing our presence in the world, then that's what we have to do. And we have to do it by closing the damn border. And by the way, all you John McCain supporters, get the hell out. Him and Harry Reid need to go to the same psychiatrist because they both have mental disorders. Yeah, I said it. What are you going to do about it? Things have to change. And change is fundamental to who we are. And this nation can change by our involvement in making those changes happen. Screw the hope and change from President Obama. He said he was going to fundamentally transform America. It certainly looks like he's doing a good job at it. What do you think? Totalitarian system? Anyone? Like Brian Lang over at LiveTruthRadio.com says, we got to stand up, speak out, and get involved. And if we don't, well, don't bitch. I don't know anybody right now. I could be wrong, and they may come forward and say that I was wrong, and that's fine because, I don't know anybody that doesn't have the balls and the backbone to stand up against this government. And when I say stand up, I'm talking peacefully. Non-violent Non-violent militant protesting, peaceful protesting. Oh, don't get me wrong. They're probably the other side, they're probably going to get violent. Oh, matter of fact, I'm 100% sure of it. Because they don't like peace, freedom, and security and liberty in this nation. They don't understand that you're fighting for their rights too. Because guess what? The people that they support are going to chew them up and spit them out. So you need to remind them of that too. Hey, I'm going to take a little break right now. We're going to come back, finish up the show for the Wednesday here, and of course, give you a preview of what's coming up for tomorrow. Yeah, well, maybe not, because I just looked at Free America Radio on Facebook, and I think I've covered everything today. So there's going to be a whole batch of new stuff for tomorrow. So I'm going to take a break. Sit tight. Don't go away. I shall return right after this. You're listening to The Views Expressed right here on the Free America Radio Network. The world as we know it is changing. We must speak out against the tyranny in our country. Stand up. Speak out. Get involved. Live Truth Radio. The reality underneath the honesty. LiveTruthRadio.com. The Wayne S. Pierce Show on the Free America Radio Network. Go to thewaynespearceshow.weebly.com for more information. And catch the Wayne S. Pierce Show Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays at 12 noon Pacific, 3 Eastern on the Free America Radio Network.
Time to take our republic back, folks. Brian Bonner, the Uncooperative Radio Show host, will tell you how. Join us for the ride of your life. Using humor and the facts, we will expose the news that the mainstream media refuses to report. The Constitution is a solution, and we can prove it. Listen in and find out what it means to be an uncooperative citizen of these United States. You can find our show at uncooperativerradio.com, and we are rebroadcast on redstatetalkradio.com.
Sharing the truth one fact at a time. This is the Free America Radio Network.
It's Spencer Hughes from The Spencer Hughes Show on Spreaker.com, and you're listening to The Views Express Live.
Hey, folks, welcome back. This is the Free America Radio Network. This is the Views Express Live. How are you today? I almost sound like one of those NPR talk show hosts. Welcome to NPR. Anyway, how y'all doing, folks? Oh, my God. Jeez. What can I say? Yes. Hey, what about this? The freethoughtproject.com. Armed Homeland Security agents in community outreach. That's in quotes, folks. To, quote, let people know they are in the area, unquote. Let's take a look at that in the last few minutes of this show over at thefreethoughtproject.com. Armed Homeland Security agents are now conducting community outreach programs based around maintaining a visible presence in order to, quote-unquote, let people know they're in the area. News channel WNCT9 received calls from alarmed residents in response to reports of numerous DHS vehicles parked outside a bankruptcy court in Greenville, North Carolina. However, the heavy presence was not because of any specific threat associated with the building. DHS officials told the station that armed Homeland Security agents were out in full force, quote, as part of their community outreach to let people know that they are in the area, unquote. The feds were also present in order to remind people about the DHS, quote, see something, say something, unquote, domestic snitch program. The visible presence of armed federal agents for no other reason than to represent a show of force will only deepen concerns that the Department of Homeland Security is becoming America's domestic standing army, a notion posited by the Rutherford Institute's John Whitehead in a widely circulated article last month. Quote, the menace of a national police force, a.k.a. a standing army, vested with so much power cannot be overstated, nor can its dangers be ignored, unquote, wrote Whitehead before listing numerous examples of how DHS is instrumental in pushing America's decline into a militarized police state. Frustration also centers around the fact that federal police are keeping themselves busy watching the American people while the country's borders remain in a state of near chaos. As Infowars.com reported as well. As we reported recently, armed DHS agents backed up by a Black Hawk helicopter and 2 armored vehicles also staged a show of force in a small Illinois town of Livingston, all to catch one individual who is accused of downloading indecent images. The armed agents in the report out of Greenville were from the Federal Protective Service, a subdivision of DHS. As we reported last year, the Infowars.com, Federal Protective Service officers were hired to guard an IRS building in St. Louis during a Tea Party protest against the federal agency's discrimination targeting conservative groups. The FPS has previously been used to spy on protesters. In 2011, the DHS asserted that it had every right to spy on peaceful protest groups and had been using Federal Protective Service agents to do so since at least 2006. Last October, the Department of Homeland Security announced its intentions to spend $80 million on hiring a raft of armed guards under the auspices of FPS to protect the IRS and other government buildings in upstate New York during, quote, public demonstrations, unquote, and civil disturbances, unquote. Well, folks, there you go. There's your standing army, the Federal Protective Service's Homeland Security Police. We have seen a few of their vehicles here in Reno, Nevada, and I guarantee you it scares the crap out of people. I want to say this, that if we need a president in the White House that is, number one, constitutional, number two, will go right through every single department and say TSA, DHS, all of that, you need to go away, you're fired, pack up your bags, pack up your boxes, and leave. Okay? I can tell you how to save billions of dollars of tax money right now. Get rid of 75% or more of the departments in Washington, D.C. We don't need them. We don't need them. We don't. And that would include getting rid of all the czars that are in Washington, D.C. Hey, Marines, Army. Yeah. Big question to you, my friends. You got the balls to gather all your troops together and rush Washington, D.C. peacefully? Do you have the balls and the guts to go down to the Washington Mall, where the White House sits and where the Washington Monument is on the other end, and march around all that area and set up in strategic areas? Because at some point in your history, at some point in your life, in your existence in the military, you are going to have to do that. And you're going to have to do that for we the people, not the corporate government that currently runs Washington, D.C. You got the balls to do that? Because I know that bikers and truckers had the balls to go there last October. That wasn't, it wasn't an easy task. Were they successful? Yeah. It wasn't plastered all over the news, no. Because you're not out there to get 15 minutes of fame. You're out there to protect this country. I suggest you think about that. I don't care if you've been in the military. I'm sure that, as some might say, you can take the man out of the military. You just can't take the military out of the man. It's time to consider what you're willing to do to defend this nation. It's now time to consider where you stand. Because I can almost guarantee, I say almost because I don't know the exact numbers, I can almost guarantee that somewhere in the vicinity of about, damn near 100% of the military, I'll make it a little more reasonable, how about 80% of the military will look at Washington, D.C. and their CEOs and their leaders and say, screw you, we are for the people. Well, I'm sure about that many, if not less, of the law enforcement of this nation are going to do the same exact thing. So I think you should think about that. How willing are you to stand up to your own government? How willing are you to stand up to these people? By the way, I'll just put it out here. The United Nations has military on U.S. soil. Did you know that? A few months back, there was a disaster relief training program going on in Hawaii. Well, guess who showed up for that? Chinese military. We've got Saudi military on our land. We've got Pakistani military on our land. We've got Israeli military on our land. A lot of people say, oh, no, it's not. Yeah, dumbass. Stop going to Snopes.com. They're stupid. Check it out, folks. And then give yourself a reality check. What are you willing to do to defend your country against enemies foreign and domestic, including those out of Washington, D.C.? That's something to check out, something to think about, seriously. I'm going to get out of here, folks. You guys have been great. You guys are always great listening to my show, listening to me ramble on. But I thank you for that. I appreciate that. Email me, freeamericaradio@usa.com, freeamericaradio@usa.com, freeamericaradio.us is the website. Please check it out. If you want to support Free America Radio Network, you can. There's a lot of things that are going on. Come join me tomorrow for news stories, the truth and the facts, right here at 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern, right here on Free America Radio Network. And remember one very important thing. We the people have the power, for we are America.